وقل ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل القرآن الكريم والفرقان الحكيم على النبي الحليم الذي هو على خلق عظيم وجعله الدليل على خير سبيل وكتابا فيه تفصيل وبيان وتحصيل، ظاهره أنيق وباطنه عميق، لا تحصى عجائبه ولا تبلى غرائبه، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على من أرسل حجة للعالمين وكان نبيا وآدم بين الماء والطين، سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا المصطفى الأمجد والرسول المسدد أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الغرر الميامين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه المبين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل فلله الحجة البالغة فلو شاء لهداكم أجمعين. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. So I want to begin by thanking all of you for having me. It is my honor and my privilege. It has been many years since I've been back, I think. Yes? Yeah. Usually I take that as a sign that the community didn't like me, that I bored you thoroughly. So let me say this from the beginning, that if I didn't bore you then, I'll probably bore you tonight. Alhamdulillah. I hope the dinner is good. At least they'll make the trip out for a good dinner. The speech, not so much. The dinner was good though, right? In the name of Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. It is already 9 o'clock. I know everyone gets tired. I myself get tired after traveling since the morning. So I won't take too much of your time. But in an effort maybe to remind myself and bring myself closer to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maybe a few words, particularly when it comes to the importance of imamat. And that's why we are here. That every human being on the Day of Judgment will be called with their imam. There's no question about this. And so it is such a critical and crucial thing that you know who your imam is. And this goes for anything in life. Mentorship, teachers, people who guide you. If you choose the wrong person to follow, inevitably you will go the wrong direction. It's just common sense. Whereas if you choose people who are good, who are lofty, moral, and will direct you in the right way, you will find the right way if your intention is good. That is just a matter of fact. So there are two things that we have to think about. That even if a teacher is really, really good, yes, and the student is good too, why is it that even though the teacher is perfect, the student doesn't always do very good? There's always a question that you can ask, that the teacher was so good, the one guiding you was so good, how is it you turned out like this? They say that about me a lot, unfortunately. How did you turn out like this when you had such a great teacher, you had such good parents? So there must be a reason, and the Quran points to it. The Holy Quran, it describes in this ayah that I recited for you, that Ya Rasulallah, go and say to them, قُلْ فَلِلَّهِ الْحُجَّةُ الْبَالِغَةُ فَلَوْ شَاءَ لَهَدَاكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Go, O Habib, and tell them. Now, the Sha'n al-Nuzul, the reason this verse came down is because we know that people did not want to believe. And people saw the signs in front of them and decided, no, this, even though we see the signs in front of us, we don't want to believe. Yet Allah in this verse, He says, I have the clearest of proof that I can give you. And the ayah says that it's so clear, it's so powerful, it's so indisputable that if Allah wanted to, if He willed, He could have guided all of you. You would have believed. Your minds would have accepted it. Look at the angels. The angels, do they disbelieve? No, because they are all aql. Their minds accept Allah completely. So the question is, if Allah's proof on us is so clear, why do we not believe? And I say this to you because particularly we have Imam in front of us, we don't see him. What makes us believe in him? Yes? And that today is very important. Our children ask the question that why should I believe in an Imam I cannot see? He lived over 1,000 years ago. We believe he's alive. He's walking the earth. I can't see him. Apparently, he helps me. Apparently, he carries my dua to Allah. Apparently, when I do bad things, he asks forgiveness on my behalf to Allah. Why do I need to believe in this? It's like a fairy tale almost. What is the reason for all of this? And that is a question we have to have an answer for. Because if we don't have an answer for, you will see what happens. And I will explain it a little bit, inshallah. So Allah says, فَلِلَّهِ الْحُجَّةُ الْبَالِغَةُ فَلَوْ شَاءَ لَهَدَاكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Allah has the clearest of proof and the one that reaches the target. And if He wanted to, you would all have believed. You would have all found guidance. And so I ask the question again, why is it that some of us believe, some of us don't believe? Some have strong belief, some have weak belief. Well, if the sign is clear, you should believe it. Let me ask you this. Tonight, what's for dinner tonight? What's for dinner tonight? Yeah, it's not hard. Chicken and everything. Allah. Okay. We have chicken and everything. Chicken is special. There's everything also with the chicken. You will go up at dinner time, as will I. You will smell the chicken. Yes, hopefully. Smells good. You will see the food. You will take the food with a spoon, put it in your plate, and you will eat the food. Do you believe it's there? Of course you believe it's there. You have sensed it. You have perceived it. Have you not? You smelled it. Even better than that, you ate it. It went down into your stomach and it felt good. Yes? So you know. Same, let's take even more extreme. Why do you believe in fire? That fire is real. Because if you put your hand in it, what will happen? You will get burnt. Right? There is proof. There is a proof that is indisputable that fire will burn you. How do you know? You put your hand in it. Just do it once. You will know. Same way, Allah's proof is there. So why don't you believe it? Isn't it as real as the fire will burn you? Or as you will smell your biryani or your chicken or whatever it is, the kubide. Kubide is good too, yeah? Maybe you should mix a little kubide, a little biryani, have a little bit of everything. Why do you not believe that sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He gives the sign right in front of you? The difference between us and the malaika, the difference between us and the angels who are all aql, is that Allah has allowed us to have shahwa, desire. Now this desire, from our own perspective, is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because if we let it out of control, what will it do to us? It will destroy us. It will destroy our mind. Our minds will not have control. Our shahwa will control. Our desires will control. But if you allow that desire to be under the control of your aql, under the control of your mind, what do? You become the highest of the high, do you not? That is Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the proof is there. The proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. But He is telling you, you must believe in it without having to necessarily touch it. Like you touch the fire, you know it's there. You eat the food, you know it's there. In the case of your religion, Allah says, I'm going to convince your mind that what I am telling you is true. You have to find a way to accept it. That is very difficult in this time. In fact, even the riwayas, they tell us that the Imam al-Athhar alayhim as-salatu was-salam, al-Imam al-Sadiq, for instance, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, that he will say that the believers who are going to come, and I am paraphrasing the hadith, that the believers who are going to come in the end of times, the later times, their status is very great. Why, Yabna Rasulillah? Because they will have to believe in their Imam without having to see him. They will have to believe in something that is hidden from their eyes. And they will have to do so in a manner that whether he is standing physically in front of them or not standing, or they cannot see him, their belief in him will not change. Can I ask you the same question that if I were to tell you that there is chicken and everything over there, and I just tell you, and you just have to take my word, will you take my word? Maybe you will, right? Because I'm wearing a turban on my head. No, you wouldn't believe. I would be with you. I would never believe. Why? Because I'm just telling you. But if you saw it yourself, right, you will believe. Now, is the same for your Imam? That you only believe if he's standing in front of you. But if someone tells you, Allah tells you, no, there's Imam in the hiding, why do you not believe? And when I say when you don't believe, you believe he's there. You believe he is there, right? You believe he is there. But do you act like you believe he's there? That's the million-dollar question. Do you act as if you know he is there? That, I think, I will say for myself that I probably don't. I don't act in the way I need to. Why? So let's look at that. One, my nafs. My nafs is so greedy. I care only about hayat ad-dunya. I only care about the life of this world. This is what I'm seeking. I'm not worried about anything that is hidden. I'm not worried about the things that are hidden from my eyes. I care about where my paycheck comes from, where my meal is coming from, who is giving me the food that evening when I'm sitting at home, etc., etc. You understand my point. Those are the things that matter to me. Why? Because it fulfills the greed of my nafs immediately. The other thing is there is what is called waswasa. Waswasa is basically the whisper of doubt that is in your ears. That someone will say, oh, don't worry. Al-Imam al-Hujja ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That he is always there helping you. Isn't he? We've heard this since we were children. But don't worry, Allah will help you through his Imam. That Allah's help is there because Imam al-Hujja is always walking amongst you. You may not see him, but his hand is over your head, helping you. Why don't we believe it? Why do we despair? When the bala and the difficulty comes, why do we despair? Because we have doubt in our ears. And we don't understand the true meaning of belief in the hidden. The other thing that is going to shake that belief is what everyone around us is doing. Remember that. That is very key. That if we see others who are strong in their belief of the ghaib, our belief in the ghaib also will tend to be strong. And that's why I ask you this question. That today, you are sitting in the center. Is your belief today, the way it is now, you sitting in this center, the same as if it would be if you lived in a city where there was no center? Let's say Cleveland had no center. Wal-'ayadu billah. Let's say there was no mosque here. No Shia families, maybe 2 families. And some of us have been here long enough that we know the circumstances used to be like that. Would your faith be the same in that circumstance as it is here? Your faith is strong here because you have a center. But if you didn't have a center, you had no place to go in Muharram, no place to go in Ramadan, no place to do Jama'ah Salat, would your iman and belief be the same as it is here? Ya Allah, maybe not, right? Now, if I say, what's the cure to all of this? Would you like to hear that? Imamat. Imamat is the cure to all of that. Yes, the nafs, right? The waswasa, the doubt, the effect of society and everyone around us. Imamat is. And you can see how imams of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, how they taught us. And you can see in periods of the imamat from the 1st to the 12th, how they taught us. From the time of Imam Ali alayhi salatu was-salam, all the way to the time of Imam al-Hussein, the 1st to the 3rd. Yes? What was the state? Someone tell me. Rasulullah passes from this world. And what is the goal of imamat? The goal is to preserve, is to ensure that what was the religion of Muhammad stays the religion of Muhammad, and that there is no change that's going to occur, to preserve it. And that's why you see what they did step by step by step. And Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam gives the biggest sacrifice. Why? For the preservation of the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So that is the first step. If you want to stay true to your beliefs, true to your belief in the Imam of our time, strong adherence to him, you have to preserve what you have. My dear brothers and sisters, let me tell you, there is some research data, and I am a researcher. I am a scientist. So I look at what research tells me. There were studies that looked at native children of the tribes, the native tribes of North America. In Alaska particularly, there were state systems that were taking children out of the homes of their parents, off of the tribal lands, and they were being placed into these boarding schools almost. And these children were leaving their culture behind, leaving their tribal background behind, going into these boarding schools and coming out 5-10 years later, completely not knowing who they are, losing who they are. You tell me, are we not susceptible to this, at risk of this? We are. We are at risk of this. And it is not just here. It is in the Muslim countries. Don't think that Pakistan, India, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, any of those Muslim countries are immune from this. They are not. They are not immune. And it is because we don't preserve what is given to us. Let everything fall to the side. Let everything be forgotten. Do not lose your deen. That's why Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He was reported to have said, Allahumma la taj'al musibati fi dini. Don't allow my trial, my difficulty to be in my religion. Let it be for everything, not my religion. Let my religion be preserved. So you see, imamat in those first. Now I'm going to give you a very narrow view that imamat is the solution. Why? Because they are the beacons of hope. After Imam Hussein, you see Al-Imam al-Sajjad, Al-Imam al-Baqir, and Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhim as-salatu was-salam. These three imams, during whose time, the Banu Umayyah still continue to rule. Banu Umayyah get weak at the time of Al-Imam al-Sadiq and are eventually overthrown by Banu Abbas. In this period, after the period of Imam Hussein, you see that the imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, what did they do? You get Sahifatul Sajjadiyya, yes? Imam Sajjad, even though Zayd had gone out to fight, yes, he stayed. And what did he do? He taught people. He fed the hungry in the middle of the night. He taught the people who will come to Medina, so much so that by the time you get to Al-Baqirain, to Imam Al-Baqir and Imam Al-Sadiq, how many students are coming to them? Thousands, they're saying. 3,000 students in the school of Imam Al-Sadiq. What before in the time was not possible, in this time of the three imams, Imam Al-Sajjad, Imam Al-Baqir, and Imam Al-Sadiq, you see it grows. What did they do? Not only did they spread the way of Ahl al-Bayt, and it is even reported that the imam will go to Hajj in these periods, and he will say to them that, Ana ibnu Rasulillah, ilayya ilayya. He will say, I am the son of Rasulullah, come to me with your questions. He will call openly the people to come to him. In the other later years, would this have been possible? Never. They would have killed him. They would have imprisoned him. But in those years, those decades, the imams had some freedom. So they went and they spread. So what is it upon us then? That not only do we preserve, but what we know to be true and authentic, we have to share. Yes? We have to teach. We have to teach. My dear brothers and sisters, I give this example. Yes? That let's say in a society, a given society, only 5 people have knowledge. Only 5 people have knowledge. That's it. Nobody else has knowledge. Okay? And let's say on one night, everyone else just follows these 5 people. They don't know anything, they just follow the 5 people. Those 5 people, one night, they decide they're going to get together for dinner. They're going to have chicken. They're going to have a little biryani, a little kubide. They're sitting in the house, okay? They're sitting in the house that night thinking, oh, we're going to get together. We're the 5 scholars of the community. A meteor falls from the sky and kills them. Okay, it's hypothetical, obviously. Yes, you'll get my point. Kills them. They're now gone. Who's going to spread the knowledge now? Who will spread the knowledge? They're dead. Nobody else knew anything. That's why when the Syrian man came to Imam al-Sadiq, and asked Imam al-Sadiq many questions. What about this? And what about this? And what about this? Imam al-Sadiq sat there. He said to Hisham, Hisham, will you answer him? Imam is sitting there. Why can't Imam answer? Because there is a man who also is a young man there, has knowledge. Imam has taught him. Imam has given him the ability, authenticates the fact that he can give the right answer and says, go give the right answer. Why in the presence of Imam does Hisham ibn al-Hakam have to answer? Why? Imam is Hujjah. He's the proof of God on earth, the vessel of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Why? Because you have to spread the knowledge. And you will see why. I will explain why. You have to spread. Share whatever you have preserved with anyone and everyone who will value it, will use it. Specifically your children. Give it to them, spread it to them, so you know what you believe in. Now we come to the times of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. Our 2 Imams, Imam Kadhim, it was very difficult on him, you know. Many years imprisoned, great difficulty, lots of spies. But when Ma'mun al-Abbasi became the Khalifa, you know what happened. That Ma'mun al-Abbasi, he calls Imam Rida, he says, come up to Khurasan, come, I would like to make you my successor. Imam Rida said, no, please. And he kept forcing him until he made him become the successor. Now I ask you, in this period, Imam Rida, alayhi salam, what was his position? He knew Ma'mun al-Abbasi is not true. He knew Ma'mun al-Abbasi is only using him for his position as the son of Fatima al-Zahra alayha salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So what is the message for us? Don't become a tool for somebody else. Are there times that we become the tool of someone else? We let someone else ride on our backs? We open our mouth, it's not us speaking, it is somebody else making us act as a puppet. Is it not? We have become the tools of other people without even realizing. And in doing so, we have compromised our faith. We have compromised what we believe in, what we want to preserve, our tradition. We have become the instrument of someone else's agenda, which is what we don't want. Imamat is about freedom. And the only ones we are servant for, we are servants of Ahl al-Bayt, nobody else. We are the tool of Ahl al-Bayt, nobody else. We are the ones who will act on the instructions of Ahl al-Bayt and nobody else. That is a very key and important thing, because then what will happen? You all know this, that eventually difficulty will come. Every human being will face difficulty, not just physical difficulty, not just difficulty with your money, your children, your wealth, your house, your car, difficulty when it comes to your faith. And what Imamat teaches you is resilience. So if you talk about the Imams after Al-Imam al-Rida now, you talk about Al-Imam al-Jawad, Al-Imam al-Hadi, Al-Imam al-Askari, and even Al-Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. You will see that they had the most difficult time. Al-Imam al-Jawad, 27 years old when he was martyred. Imam Mahdi did not live a long life. Imam Askari, 25 years old. Yes, very, very young. And not only young, but faced great oppression of the Banu Abbas. So now in this period, how do they help the Shia? And what is the lesson they leave for the Shia in this moment? It is that be ready to face difficulty. Be ready to prepare yourself. That something is going to come that's going to shake your life. And it's going to make you question what you believe and how strongly you adhere to what you believe are the principles and the foundation of your life. And what you cannot do is falter. What you cannot do is break. And that is the goal you see of Imamat, that at the very end, they were preparing from Imam al-Jawad to Imam al-Hadi to Imam al-Askari. Finally, when the 12th Imam took his office of Imamat, what was the condition? You no longer can see your Imam anymore. Look how graded it goes. At first, you can see the Imam, come and talk to him. Imam is openly talking to his followers. They are sitting with him in his class in Medina in the time of Imam Sadiq, let's say. Eventually, slowly, Imam Rida is coming into the court of Ma'mun al-Abbasi. Even Imam Jawad, to some degree, was coming in front of people, answering questions. But slowly, the grip gets tighter on them. Such that, what is the message to show? That once you were able to see the Imam, but now the time is going to come when the Imam is not going to be in front of your eyes. The Imam will be gone from your eyes. Prepare yourselves. Get ready, because you will not be able to see, but you will have to believe. You will have to believe. And one of the things that you must consider very deeply, and this is the second thing I mentioned to you, that we have the Hujjah of Allah that is so clear, we don't accept it because our minds are not clear. Because we have too many things that manipulate our minds. The second thing that causes us to falter, it is described in the Holy Quran about a group of people in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, who didn't want to believe. Rasul gave them proof. And the ayah, what does it say? It says, أَفَتَطْمَعُونَ أَن يُؤْمِنُوا لَكُمْ وَقَدْ كَانَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَسْمَعُونَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يُحَرِّفُونَهُ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا عَقَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. Ayah is very clear. It is addressing the Muslims, the believers. It is saying to the believers that, are you greedy that they will believe in what you're believing in? Are you greedy that they're going to follow Rasulullah and they're going to believe in the same thing that you are believing in? And not only that, but that there was a group amongst them who used to hear the kalam of Allah, meaning the signs of God. The proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come to them. And what did they do? They twisted it. They twisted it. They corrupted it. Min ba'di ma aqaluh, after they fully understood. وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, and they knew exactly what it meant. Ya Allah, that's even worse than not seeing the proof. This, you see the proof, you know the proof is true, it's there in front of you, the fire is there, you know it's hot, it will burn you, you still jump inside it. You still go and jump inside it. I ask you, that do we not do this? Maybe not jumping in a fire. But how many a times in our life do we know that something is not proper, but we just don't see things straight? Or that the message that is with us, we have taken it and we have corrupted it in our minds. Yes? I'm not a big computer guy, but you know, when you start those computer programs and they're corrupted or they have a virus, right? It opens, starts to blink a little bit, and then it freezes, right? You are the same. Is it not? You're the same way. Once the program gets corrupted, what happens? It won't run properly. You need to have a proper running system. In the same way, the Quran is saying that you know the truth, don't let it become corrupted. Don't be like those people who were called to believe, were given the signs, they understood the sign. They knew what the sign was. They still didn't want to believe in it. They corrupted it. They moved it out of the way. And this happened a lot. I will tell you a little history. That in the time of Imam al-Jawad, there was a young boy, it is reported, growing up in the house of Imam al-Jawad. He became a great companion of Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam, and became very trusted source of Imam Mahdi. Even Imam al-Askari, he would say, he is a thiqa to me, trusted person. And that Imam Askari even will say that if you hear this person who grew up as a child or under the tutelage or supervision of my grandfather Al-Jawad, if you hear him say something to you, you can trust that it is coming from me. Ya Allah, what a position of this individual. So we know that when Al-Imam Al-Askari was dying, he called all the 40 closest companions, and he called this man, this person who was a young boy in the house of Al-Imam Al-Jawad, had grown up over the many years, and now is a man. He says to them that, look, I am dying soon. My son, Ibn al-Askari, is going to become the next 12th Imam. And the only way you are to reach him is through this man right here. This is Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri. He's the first of the Safir, the Nawab of Imam al-Mahdi. Now, why am I telling you about them? Because there is something to learn about being a Shia from these men. And just like Imamat taught us, Imamat by the institution of these four men taught us as well, in a similar manner. So Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri, he becomes the first deputy of Imam Mahdi. Now, what's the first thing that has to happen? You see, all in this one little period, the 70 years of the Ghaibat al-Sughra, everything happens in these 70 years. So much happens. It's like an encyclopedia for Shiaism through the ages. Yes? What happens? Ja'far comes, the uncle, and claims that after Imam Askari, Ja'far is the Imam. Yes, you heard this. He claims, and that's why they called him a liar. And in fact, as he stood there to read the salat on his brother, who came forward? Imam al-Mahdi came. He says, no, uncle. It is my job to read the salat on my father who has passed from this world. I will read the salat. So now, Imam does this, but Imam is in lesser occultation, minor occultation, Ghaibat al-Sughra. Nobody can see him. So the task falls on whose shoulder? Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri, who they say he was from the tribe of Banu al-Asad. He's been with the Imam since the time of Al-Imam al-Jawad, not only trusted. You know what he did? In those days, the Banu Abbas had their government in Samarra. He took the government after the passing of Al-Imam al-Askari. He took the headquarters of the Shia and he moved them to Baghdad. He moved them. Some say it's because he knew that Banu Abbas are going to spy on him and pressure him and make life difficult. He moved to Baghdad. And in Baghdad, he basically had a neighborhood in one part of Baghdad where all the Shias used to live together. And they will meet secretly. And it will be a place where they can get together. Look, there's a lesson in this. There's a lesson in this for us. You want to build institutions, you want to strengthen, preserve what you believe in, stay close to each other. Stay close to each other. Build that institution together. He will do this, and in this period, he will fulfill the needs of the Shia. Anytime Imam wants to give a message, he will give the message through Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri. He'll go out and give the message to the people. He will collect the khums. You also know this, that he was an oil seller. He would sell oil. So what he will do, he will fill the barrels with oil. He will go out with the caravan. He will sell his oil, and then the empty barrels, he'll put the khums and hide it inside the barrel and bring it back to the Imam. Look at how he will do it. Not only that, but that any questions that needed to be answered by Imam, he will go and bring. He will go. And if Imam had to give some response, something, he will have the tawqiyah of the Imam, the stamp of Imam, to know that it is authentic coming from Imam. And we know that he was a thiqah. Now, he was there 7 years maybe. So 267 approximately, he passed. When he passed, he had already been raising his son. So he had passed the work down to his son and said, look, I'm going to die, but you make sure you do what I'm doing. Should we not do the same? Where we do something good, but we have not taught our children to do the same thing. We're building something great, but when we die, that great thing falls to the ground because our children were not taught to keep it alive, to make it grow and flourish. Because that was my task, he will do whatever he wants to do. No. Inculcate in them the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, this desire to keep a foundation. So Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri, the son of the first deputy, becomes the second deputy. And he grew up in that very neighborhood, that same neighborhood. And it is said that Imam Askari about him also said he is a thiqah. He is a trusted source, that if he says something, you know it is coming from the Imam. They say Muhammad ibn Uthman, He is in the position in the office of deputyship for 40 years. 40 years he stays. Long time. And in this period, he faces the oppression of 4 Abbasi Khalifas, 4 of them, change the reigns. There's a lot of difficulty in this time, a lot of difficulty. There are different events that take place. There is a rebellion, all right? There is what was called the Zanj rebellion. The Zanj rebellion was the rebellion of a man who claimed to be the descendant of Zayd ibn Ali, Zayn al-Abidin, all right? So the son of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, it's his descendant. So this person rose up against the Banu Abbas and had a rebellion. This was called the Zanj rebellion. There was a rebellion. There was another group who were called the Qaramita. The Qaramita or Karamatians, if you look them up, some say they were like an offshoot of Shiaism. They were a break-off from the Shiites. There were many break-offs, yes? So that's the other thing. We talk about deviations in the years from Al-Imam Al-Kadhim all the way to the time of Imam Askari. How many groups formed? So many little groups broke off from the Shia. We think the 12ers, the Ithna Ashari are the only ones? No, no. You've got the 27ers, the 21s, the Ismailis are there, the Zaydis are there, the Waqfiyya are there, the Kaysaniya are there. How many are there? There's so many. Some of them have disappeared through the ages, but they have formed. They have definitely formed. You think today there are not those? My dear brothers and sisters, look at Shiaism itself. I hate to say it. Go to certain countries. I'm not going to point out the countries, and see what some of the people are saying from the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. It is ghulu. It is extremism. It is not what our imams preached. They talk about things that, ya Allah, it should scare us, that this is what someone is saying in the name of Rasulullah Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. You think it doesn't creep in? It does creep in. And these 4 Safirs, these 4 Nawab had to deal with it constantly. Constantly it was happening. Constantly it was occurring. So now, Muhammad ibn Uthman, the second deputy, he writes a lot of books. He transmits hadith, even dua al-iftitah. You know, you read in Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan, it is reported it has come through him. It has come through Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri. The dua al-Samat. Dua al-Samat, which you read, which is a beautiful dua, I urge you to read it, has come through him. He has related it. Many fiqh questions that came. So one of the fiqh questions that somebody asked Imam al-Mahdi was about fuqa', barley water, fermented barley water, beer basically. And Imam says, no, you cannot have it. He gives the answer right there. Imam also, through the second deputy, he sends one tawqiyah, one official letter saying that those who do not pay their khums, it is as if they're eating fire in their bellies. It is a reminder to all of us. So now he stays 40 years and then he is close to passing. He appoints a man who was his agent, who used to work with him, a man named Hussein ibn Ruh. Hussein ibn Ruh, some call him an-Nawbakhti because he was from Persia. He takes over, he is appointed the next. Obviously, Imam is the one telling him that the next deputy will be Hussein ibn Ruh. Hussein ibn Ruh, 19 years in the office. Hussein ibn Ruh, he faces one big difficulty I will tell you about. And it relates to what we are talking about. They say that Hussein ibn Ruh, 1 year, those Karamatians, the Qaramita who I was telling you about, who had rebelled and formed their own nation, they attack a caravan in which some family members of the Banu Abbas were traveling. And the family members of the Banu Abbas, they get harmed. And so the Banu ruling Abbas, the headquarters, they blame the Shia because the Qaramita, they say, are a schism of Shiaism. So the blame comes on the Shia. They catch Hussein ibn Ruh, the Na'ib of Imam Mahdi, they throw him in prison. Now, while he is in prison, he's been kept there, they say, quite a while. Some say a few years he is kept in prison. In this time, who is going to carry out the instructions of Imam Mahdi? So now he has agents who will help him. There was one man, his name was Al-Shalmaghani. Al-Shalmaghani was, they say, in the early years, was a devout follower of Imam. They say he was true. He was devout. He helped Hussein ibn Ruh. When Hussein ibn Ruh went into prison, guess what happened to Al-Shalmaghani? Al-Shalmaghani starts to get thoughts of grandeur suddenly. that I am something. And he starts to say, oh, I am the one who actually is the deputy of Imam Mahdi, and I'm going to start telling you things. And he starts to tell people things that are absolutely wrong. One of the things he says is that Allah sometimes comes down and he takes the shape of a Nabi, a prophet amongst the people. He starts to say all false things. Imagine, he was a devoted follower. He was, they say, the history says, he followed the Imams. He was devout. He followed. But the minute something happened, Hussein ibn Ruh, what happened? His nafs took over. Nafs became greedy. Nafs suddenly start thinking that you don't want it. And what happened? Inhiraf. You turn away. What did I say the ayah says? يُحَرِّفُونَهُ مِن بَعْدِ مَا عَقَلُوهُ. They corrupt the word after they understood it. This is a warning to all of us. That be careful, just because you know what is the truth doesn't mean that it won't get corrupted, God forbid. La samahallah. Ash-Shalmaghani, they say Imam Mahdi wrote a very stern order against him. Very stern, to stop, and he was eventually caught and executed by the Banu Abbas. He was eventually killed by the Banu Abbas. But Imam Mahdi had censured him and said that he is false completely. Now, Hussein ibn Ruh, he spends 19 years, he passes, and when he passes, he appoints through Imam Mahdi's instructions a man named Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari. Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari also is again a man who's been serving the Ahl al-Bayt for many, many years. Many years. And being the intermediary, dealing with the circumstances. And we don't know too much about his life. He stayed in that deputyship few years, only a few years. And it is related that when it came time for him to die, they say Imam Mahdi sent him a message. And he said to him that when it comes for the time for you to die, do not appoint anybody after you. Don't appoint a successor. This is because, Imam Mahdi explains, he says, this is because Allah has chosen that his Imam is to disappear. And only when Allah chooses will I return. Only when Allah chooses, I will return. That is the point. That I will come back. And that is only in the idhn or the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This will mark the big or the major occultation, the ghaybat al-kubra, the big occultation. So you see that Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari passes from this world, and now the Shi'as are left without being able to see their Imam or a direct contact with the Imam. But now Imam says something very important. He says, anybody who claims to have seen me or spoken to me after this period is a liar. They cannot claim. Maybe there are stories that people saw somebody, and it could have been Imam Mahdi, but someone claiming to be the deputy, that he went and he knew where Imam was and talked to Imam and got instructions, that is a lie. And the ones who are saying that Imam will come back on such and such a date and we know exactly when Imam is coming, they are liars. They are liars. They don't know. Nobody knows when the time of Imam is going to come back. Now I ask you, does that sound similar to you, to something? Isa alayhi salam, sure, but one other big thing. Yawm al-Qiyamah, no? Do you know when Yawm al-Qiyamah is coming? You know there are some signs. Allah says there are some signs. Same like Imam Mahdi, the caller will call, yes. Sufyani will come out, Yamani will come out, the earth will shake, etc. All of these things. But just like Yawm al-Qiyamah, we don't know. What do you think the message is for us? The message is learn how to believe with your eyes closed. Learn how to believe with your nose closed. Breathe, but I mean sense of smell. Turn your senses off and believe. Turn your senses off and believe. That is true belief. And that is what it means to be the follower of Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. Salawat ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. So I think I'm holding you guys from chicken, right? 5 more minutes. I'm finished, actually. He wants me to go on. He's the one telling. I said I'm finished. He's pushing me to go 5 or 10 more minutes. The food just arrived. Then let's just eat it hot. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها، لعن الله ظالميها. اللهم شافي كل مريض، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم، وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين. وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر هو أقرب من ذلك. وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Thank you for having me.